It's the best time of year. It's what we've been waiting for since the CFL first started earlier in the summer. Playoffs. We got 6 teams all battling for the illustrious trip to the Grey Cup. So let's give our picks.
Oh, God. I hate when we do this.
It's tough. I think if we look back before the season started, I think it was the first episode of Huddle Up. We gave our predictions for who is going to win the Grey Cup. I don't know if you remember who you picked was going to win. I certainly remember who I had playing.
You had the BC Lions.
I had the Lions and the Ticats.
In the Grey Cup.
In the Grey Cup. So it's kind of still
Did I have Hamilton and Winnipeg?
I think you had Saskatchewan.
Oh, my God.
So I think you had Hamilton and the Riders. So that's unfortunately not a lie. But this is a second chance for us to right our wrongs and do a little better with a little bit more information because we've watched a lot of CFL this year. So we'll start off in the Eastern Conference. We've got Hamilton and Montreal in the East Division semi. Who do you have coming out on top?
I mean, I have Hamilton, but I don't think it's relevant whoever makes it because they're just getting fed to the Lions of the CFL and the Argos 16-2 regular season. So I've got Hamilton winning this one. I feel like they've been playing better. Bo Levi Mitchell coming back at the right time gives me more confidence in them, and I'm just not kind of sold on Cody Fajardo, although Montreal has had a great regular season with him in his first year there.
I think I'm buying the ceiling of the Tiger Cats a little bit more, but you mentioned Bo Levi coming back. I don't know if he's quite had enough, has he gotten enough reps to be in tip-top shape come playoff time? I'm going to go with the Alouettes here.
Okay.
And I'm not even going to call it an upset because I just think that they're maybe more of a complete team. They've got a great defense that can force a lot of turnovers and cause a ton of problems. But I agree with what you said. Not that it doesn't matter, but we're both going to be picking the Argonauts to win the East Division final and beat whoever it is, whether it's Hamilton or Montreal.
But if you're looking for reasons that Hamilton or Montreal could maybe pull off an upset, they both got really good skill position players. Austin Mack on Montreal's side and William Stanback at running back. And then Hamilton, Tim White, who led the league in receiving yards. James Butler, who we had on this show, had an incredible season, over 1,000 scrimmage yards in his first year in Hamilton. So you can kind of talk yourself into an upset formula with feeding your players and your best players the ball, but let's put the Argos in the Grey Cup. I don't think there's anyone that's going to convince me otherwise. They lost to Calgary this year and they lost to Winnipeg this year. They have not lost to an Eastern team this season, so there's no reason it starts now.
The Winnipeg loss, they were also missing Chad Kelly.
Exactly. And the Calgary loss, they were too. He got hurt in that game. So they're a game that Chad Kelly has played from the start to the end. The Argos went 16-0 this year.
Is that good?
That's pretty good. That's Miami Dolphins undefeated, basically.
There you go. Had to throw that in there. All right, we'll move on to the West. We've got Calgary. We've got BC. BC's been a team that I've been super high on all year long. Talk about Vernon Adams. He had this phenomenal season. You talk about the trio of receivers that they have that have just been so dynamic. Who do you have in this one?
I've got BC. I think I'm assuming that you're going to go BC as well. Calgary's played great ball down the stretch to keep this playoff streak alive with head coach Dave Dickinson, but I just think that BC is so dynamic on offense. Vernon Adams Jr. and these receivers are just a different beast. And yes, I know Calgary, in a must-win game for them a couple weeks ago, destroyed BC. But I'm just counting on the Lions at home. Vernon Adams Jr., all these weapons. Give me BC.
I think we need to applaud the resilience of the Stampeders because we watched them early on in the season. They looked a little lifeless. They looked a little down. I think at one point we called them the biggest disappointment so far in the CFL. But they've gotten going, and they've had to come up with some pretty big wins to even get here. But I just think the BC Lions are way too talented to be a one and done. And I think the type of season that Vernon Adams has had, he wants to add some hardware to go along with all the stats that he's racked up. So I'm going to go with the BC Lions as well, which leaves BC versus Winnipeg, which has produced some awesome matches so far this season. Are we going to get a repeat of last year's Grey Cup?
Oh, man. I think before we started recording, I think I said I was going to go BC. But I don't think I can because the game is in Winnipeg, the Bomber. And I know BC has gone there this season and beaten Winnipeg, both at kind of full health. But I just think Winnipeg is so good everywhere. Like Willie Jefferson on the D-line, Adam Bighill, DeMario Houston in the secondary. Like, all three levels are amazing defensively. And then Brady Oliveira, one of the best seasons we've ever seen from a Canadian running back in the CFL. From a running back in the CFL in general. And then you've got Kenny Lawler and Drew Wolotarski and Dalton Schoen and Zach Colero. Like, I like BC. I think they have a lot of talent, but Winnipeg is just so good.
It's very hard to talk yourself into the Blue Bombers not being in the Grey Cup. They've had this dominant stretch for so long, but I think at some point, all things
Are
have
you
to come
pulling
to
an audible? Because I thought you were going Winnipeg.
I'm pulling an audible.
Oh!
I just think that if you look at Vernon Adams, his career as a quarterback, he's had some ups, he's had some downs, but he always seems to. I talked about Calgary being resilient. I think resilience is a great trait to describe VA, and I think what he's missing right now is that one statement win. And I think if he does this, and they've done it before already, if he does this, and I think they have a great shot too, especially if Matthew Betts can get to Zach Collaros like he did early in the season when the Lions just really blew the Bombers out. I think they have what it takes to pull off the upset. I just think to have a repeat Grey Cup, to go to the Grey Cup so many years consecutively as Winnipeg has, it's just so hard to have that consistent string of dominance. I'm going to pick the BC Lions to pull off the upset, which leaves a repeat for you, the Argonauts and the Blue Bombers, and a new team coming from the West in my predicted final, the Lions and the Argonauts. But who will be the Grey Cup champion?
Toronto Argos. They're running the table. Best team all season long. They have had no instances as far as like holes go on their team. They, special teams wise, Javon Leake, Boris Beatty in the field goal department. And then offensively, they have so many weapons. Chad Kelly, so many questions coming into the season with how would he fare in his first full season as a starter, taking over from McLeod Bethel-Thompson. He took that momentum from helping the Argos win the Grey Cup last year to MOP this year, presumably. And then you look at the defense, one of the most opportunistic shutdown defenses you'll see. Like, every time they get a pick or force a turnover, it seems like it's a touchdown the other way. Winton McManus in the middle has found the end zone so many times this year. Like, there is just not a hole on this team, and I can't pick against them. It's going to be a home game for them. Hamilton, the Argos crowd's going to make the trip up there. It's going to be a home Grey Cup.
I've made my upset pick. I took the Lions. Do I think they can pull off the, not impossible, but pull off a big upset twice in a row? I just think this Argos team has had so much success. They have quite literally cemented themselves, or they have the chance to cement themselves as an all-time great team in the CFL. And it's almost a crime if they walk away from this season without that Grey Cup.
That's the hardest thing to do.
I'm going to pick them to win.
I agree.